Hello everyone, today I'm going to go over a plugin I've created called CommandRunner. Now CommandRunner is a plugin that helps you save and run commands with the ability to change up variables, and it wraps it into automatically change history service. So you're able to undo things and redo it. The reason why I created this plugin is because I've noticed that whenever I'd run commands down here for tasks like changing the size of certain parts that are certain colors or just doing something, I've noticed that when I try to change the variables, it's kind of hard to do so, and I'll kind of show off. So let's see if I can find a command that I've done in the past. Okay, so this looks like it grabs everything in the workspace. Then if it's a decal, it prints it. All right, so these two things are decals or textures. Now let's just say I have a variable up here called variable, and I just set that to 1, 2, 3. And then if I made this command longer and printed it, then you notice that I need to go to the front every single time to change this variable. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it sends me to the end of the script, and then I have to go back. And then also if I wanted to undo this, if this did some change, I would have to local change history server. Like, it's extra code that's unneeded, and so I decided to create a command runner that does everything for that for me. Let's get started on showing that off. So if we click this little plus button, then I'll say name of command. If I say something like print hello world, I'll show this off first. It comes up in a script, and here is where we will define our command. So in the arguments, let's say something like message, and then we set it to a table, and we say the type is equal to string, and then let's set a default key, and let's say hello world. And so now if I click save, there we go. We have an argument called hello world, and we could type anything in here, etc. Next, let's go ahead and see what happens when I click execute. So let's just do print props, because it passes in props right here. And then inside props, we can see what we have. We have selected, configuration, label text. We'll go through that later, but we just need arguments. Arguments dot message. There we go, because we called it message up here. And so that just prints it. So if I say hello world, and you'll notice you don't really need to save it. You only need to save it if there's new arguments. But if I do this, there we go. It prints it. If I say hello world with an exclamation mark, there we go. It prints it right there. Awesome. Okay, now let's go ahead and show off some other cool features. Let's go ahead and say button counter. So I'm going to create a button in here because there's different arguments that you can create. Button is equal to a table, and in this table we need type, and we'll call this button. And then the default, we will say count. Let's see what happens if I click save. There we go. And now I have a count, but when I click it, nothing happens. So what we can do is we can provide a run in here, which has a function and has props, and we'll use type checking. We'll do types.props. And now I could say something like print high, as Roblox AI suggested. So now if I click count, it prints high. But what if I want to set a count in a label? Well, let's go ahead and create a label then. We'll call this count label. The type will be a label, and then the default will be count. If I click save, then I forgot to add a comma there. Click save now. There we go. Now you notice I added this first and then this second, but then it did this. Well, you can define a layout order. Say that's 1, and then this is 2. Click save. Then I did something wrong because, again, I didn't set a comma right there. There we go, count and button. Okay, so now each time that we click count, I want, instead of it saying hi, I want it to say something right here. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's say local count is equal to, and then we're going to do props.configuration. We're going to get the current count, and we'll just call this count in a default. So it'll be probably 0. The first time, if there's nothing in count, then it gets 0. And now let's go ahead and add 1. So props.configuration set count, and then count plus 1. And then you know what? Let's just go ahead and print count to see local new count equals. Okay, let's set up new count equals there so that way we could print that out. I believe that works. Okay, awesome. All right, so now let's go ahead and set this label. So we could do something like props dot set label text, and this is called count label. And then the text, it will be count is equal to new count. And then if I click this, then it shows me the count as I go. Now I'm using my fire button. I have a keybind. I can't actually click that fast, but so there we go. We showed off some labels there. And let me see, there was some other stuff there. Okay, yeah, I can run a command if I wanted to. So let's say that each time that we click count, I want to run the print hello world. So I'll go say print hello world. And if I click count, then it adds the count, and then it also prints hello world. There's another thing that you can do. So basically what's that doing is that it's grabbing here. So if I change this to like test 1, 2, 3, and then click execute, and then in here it prints out test 1, 2, 3. We could also provide arguments in itself. So if I want to do like, I believe this was called message. Message is equal to hello world from button counter. And now if I click count, then it says hello world from button counter. And then if I just remove it, it'll go back to test 1, 2, 3. Was there anything else? Now let's go over some of a little pivot. So that's kind of all in terms of the cool types. Now let's go ahead and show off the rest of the types, and then also something to do in the workspace. So let's go ahead and we'll do something like change part color. Okay, now in the argument we'll say random color. And then in here, this type will be a Boolean, so I could show off that. And then the default will be false. So if I click save, then it says random color. So this UI is temporary. I'm going to have a UI designer kind of help me create it because I need to be able to change the name of the file too. So this is kind of like a beta version of the plugin. But regardless, if it's not random, then we define a RGB. I'll have to do a split. We define string. Default is equal to 255 red 00. Okay. And then another thing that I'll show off is the ability to not clear text on focus. So if I type in here, let me save it. Oops. There we go. So if this is 25500, then if I click on it, it'll not clear the text on focus. All right. So when we run it, I want to select the part that I'm currently selecting, or actually I want to loop through all the parts that I'm currently selecting. And I want to, let's go, here we go. And I want to change the color. So let's just go ahead and run a test. We do props.selected. and this will print out whatever I have selected. So let's go ahead and create some parts over here. There we go. About 3 parts. Awesome. Okay, now if I have all these selected and click execute, then it prints out a table of all the things that I have selected, and these are all of the parts that I have selected. Good, good. Now, I want to go ahead and change the color. So what I'll do is I'll for loop through each selected in props.selected do, and then selected dot, let's look at here. We need to say color, and I believe color is a color 3. And then let's just say color3.new. And then let's just say it ourselves just to test it. So red. And then if I execute all of these, then it changes it to black because it did a, I needed to do from RGB. From RGB. And then guess what? Earlier I said this wraps around change history. If I click Control Z, it changes it. Yay. There we go. Now if I execute it, then it will change all the colors. But that's not what we need. We need something like RGB. I think this works. String.split props.arguments.rgb. The separator is a comma. Let's just type out RGB and see if that works. Okay, no, it's a, that doesn't work that way. It's 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Local RGB equals that. And then we do R1, R2, RGB1, RGB2, RGB3. Okay, now let's say something like 100 and see what that color is, because I don't know from that. There we go. It works. Now let's do like green. There we go. Lime green. Okay. And now let's do functionality on this random. So we could say isRandom is equal to props.arguments.random. So if isRandom, then let's put this inside of here. Then let's define a color out here so that way for each time it's not a random color. Or maybe we want that. You know what? We want that. Local random color is equal to a color3.new. And then for each value, we want to do math.random between 0 to 255. And we want to do that about 2 more times. There we go. And then if it's a random color, then we say that the color is random color. Otherwise, do it the same, like this. Okay, let's see what happens here. So random, there we go. Then it just changes it to a random color, each one. So that's pretty cool. Otherwise, just do it green. Okay, I'm going to see some other things that I have in here. Props. Okay, so I have focus view here, which we can look into. So focus view and the objects. So I'll do props.selected, and it has an extra offset. Let's just see what this does. So if I'm like far away here and I click execute, then it focuses me on the parts. Awesome. And then an extra offset. I don't know, let's do 100 or something. Let's see what happens here. Okay, then it just goes out 100 offset. I also have set selection. So let's say if I want to select the first part, that the first thing that I have selected, then we do it needs to be a table. Props dot selected one. And so what this will do is that, there we go, the first one is selected. Yep. So yeah, let me know if you guys want anything else inside of props in here. So yeah, so this plugin is not released yet. I'm trying to figure out whether or not if I should sell it for Robux, but I don't think it's at a point to be able to sell it for Robux. I think I need to make the UI a little bit better. So yeah, thanks for watching, and eventually this plugin will come out, and then for all you guys that can use.